In this video, you learn how to solve some complex numbers. A complex number is a number that contains both a real and an imaginary part. Say for example, 2 plus 5i, the real part is 2 and the imaginary part is I, with the imaginary number I. So this is the imaginary. What happened? A number. Now let's solve some problems here. So let's say we're asked to simplify or evaluate this one. 4i to the power of 3, or 4i cubed. We can use the cyclic property of powers, where I to the power of 0 is equal to 1 and I is equal to the square root of -1, then I squared is just -1, then I cubed is equal to -I, because you can write I cubed as I squared times I, then I squared is just equal to -1, then negative times I is -I. Okay, then we can apply that here. Now we can write this expression as 4 cubed. We just distribute the exponents times I cubed. Now 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4, which is just equal to 64, right? That one is 64 times I cubed. So I cubed is just I squared times I. I mean, we know that I squared is equal to -1. Therefore, this is just equal to 64 times -1 times I, or -64I. So the expression for I cubed is just equivalent to -64I. Let's try solving this problem. What is the product of 2 plus 3i and 5 minus 4i? When we say product, we multiply. We multiply 2 plus 3i and 5 minus 4i. We can use FOIL method here. Right, let's do that. So we multiply this first, 2 and 5. So that is 2 times 5 plus this one, 3i times 5 plus 2 times -4i plus this one, 3i times -4i. Then we simplify. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3i times 5 is 15i. 2 times -4i is -8i. Then -4i times 3i is -12i squared. Now we can group like terms. We group this one. So we copy 10 plus now 15i minus 8i. This is just 7i. Then we have -12i squared. I squared is equal to -1. Right. Okay, and then we simplify further. 10 plus 7i, this would become plus 12. Then we can group 10 and 12. That would be 22 plus 7i. Therefore, the product of these two expressions here, complex numbers, is 22 plus 7i. So the answer is letter D. what is the completely simplified equivalent of 2 over 5 plus I? Now to simplify 2 over 5 plus I, we need to multiply that by the conjugate of the denominator, which is 5 plus I. So the conjugate of 5 plus I is 5 minus I. So we multiply both the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. So this would become 2 times 5 minus I over 5 plus I times 5 minus I. And then we simplify. We distribute this. This would become 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times negative I is 2I. Then we use the FOIL method here. So this is just 5 times 5, 25. I times 5 is 5I. Then 5 times negative I is negative 5I. Then I times negative I is negative I squared. And we simplify. Okay, we have 10 minus 2I. This cancels out because 5I minus 5I is 0. Then we're left with 25 minus I squared. We knew that I squared is equal to negative 1. And this would become 10 minus 2I over 25 minus negative 1. Then this is just 10 minus 2I over 26. Now we have a common factor here. We can factor out 2. Then we're left with 5 minus I in the parentheses over 26. And 26 is divisible by 2. This would become 13. Therefore, this one would become 5 minus I over 13. So this is our answer. So 2 over 5 plus I can be simplified as 5 minus I over 13. So the answer here is this one, letter C. Now let's solve another problem. Which expression is equivalent to square root of negative 6 times square root of negative 4 minus square root of 3? We just distribute square root of negative 6. Square root of negative 6 times square root of negative 4 minus square root of 3. We distribute this. This would become square root of negative 6 times square root of negative 4 minus square root of negative 6 times square root of 3. Then we simplify from there. All right, now to multiply radicals with negative radicands, we cannot just simply multiply negative 6 and negative 4, and the answer would be positive 24. So let's rewrite first. So we can write square root of negative 6 as I square root of 6, because the square root of a negative number, a negative 1, say square root of negative 1, that one is equal to I. Then times square root of negative 4 can be written as I square root of 4 minus square root of negative 6. So square root of negative 6 can be written as I square root of 6 times square root of 3. And now we can multiply or simplify the expressions. So this one, I times I is I squared. Then square root of 6 times square root of 4 is square root of 24 minus I square root of 6 times square root of 3 is square root of 18. Okay, we knew that I squared is equal to negative 1, so we can change this to -1, then we can write 24 as 6 times 4, because 4 is a perfect square. Then I squared of 18 can be written as 9 times 2. 9 is a perfect square. Then, okay, this would become negative of the square root of 6 times 4. Square root of 4 is 2, so we can put 2 outside the radical. Then we're left with 6 as the radicand. Then minus I square root of 9 is 3. So this is 3I. And we're left with 2 inside the radical. Therefore, we cannot simplify this further. Therefore, the answer would be this one. So -2 square root of 6 minus 3I square root of 2. So that would be letter D, this one.